Hello there. So I was going to get started by showing you some of the equipment and just jump right in. So when you're doing your seeds, you're going to start your seeds, you need a tray to set them up in, to put them in, to nurture them. What I've started using are these trays. If I'm doing a big batch, I'll do these trays. These were just the bottom saucers from a bunch of plants, and I've got a ton of them, so I use them. I cut out the paper towel to keep it steady, because if you move this around or you're going to put a cover on it at night, the edges get caught up in things, and sometimes you can have a little problem like that. So when we do it the first time, we're gonna set the seeds in there. I label the tray a lot of times when I'm doing the big batch like this, especially if I'm gonna do any larger vegetables like tomatoes or eggplant or cucumber, because those have to be dealt with differently. They can't just go in with in the regular setup. So all the lettuces and the greens and the flowers and the herbs can go in this and can go in everything else, but the vegetables you have to deal with a little bit differently. So that's why I label them sometimes. So you start it out here. You're gonna spray it with water every day. At night you put the cover on. The first day you're gonna maybe give it an hour of sunlight. Sunlight is all these lights, or if you're going to take it outside. But I use all these lights to start the babies. So I'm always talking about save your trays, save your plastic containers, because you can use them in different ways. If you're starting like a smaller batch, you can use this. This worked out really well. You've got got my little paper towel in there, the little bed, make it all cozy at night for it. I'll be all happy. This works out well, and this worked out well. I started some parsley in here because parsley takes longer than the rest. So once you've got your babies coming out of there, they go into your medium. The medium that I like to use are these sponges. There's a couple of different types of sponges. This is a sponge, but what I prefer are these. They have the little indentation in them, and I really prefer them. Because when you're moving your babies with your little tweezers, you're gonna put them in here, and you want the green to show up the top. See? And then the root's gonna come down here. Now I can see this little root, but you probably can't see it on the camera there. So that's why I like the ones with the little indentations. They're gonna move into your net pot, like that. Now these trays, it just happened as coincidence that I had these already, that I had been using them already. So it fit perfectly, it worked perfectly. There's water, of course, in all these things. There's water in everything here. These trays, when I bought them, this set was five sets for $12. They come with lids. I don't really need the lids. If you're putting it outside on a porch or something, you might want to use the lid. I don't use the lids much though. Now, they cost about the same. They're 6 pieces, 6 sets. I think I saw for $12. Now the sponges are $12, $13 for 100 pieces. So that's the price of that. If you start with the rack, which is what I'm working towards here with what we're gonna grow. If you start with the rack, I'll show you what comes with the rack. What comes with the rack are the sponges, the net pots, these square net pots that fit in with this. So I've gotten 3 different racks, 2 of the same brand and another brand, and they all 3 used these square pots. If you're gonna order a rack and order something different, there are a lot of different ones available. It would be good if your net pot fits into wherever your holding place is gonna be. Because they've got to harden off for maybe like 6 weeks, sometimes longer. I've always got something going on into these, moving into these. So you get your nets, your net pot, you get your pump, you get a timer. So the hydroponics is the water circulating with a pump and you're putting nutrients in it. You got your tubing, and then the tube gets attached to your rack, and the water floats down by gravity. This pumps it up into the top tier, and then by gravity it takes it down. One thing I added to the whole setup is this cord cover. I saw this on a blog. They talked about covering the tubing with the cord cover, because the tubing is going to get all full of algae. It's going to get dark green if it's exposed to the sun. So I got these cord covers and I tried it. I had 2 racks set up, and I put one with the cover on right away, and then the other one looked so pretty that I didn't put the cover on it, and it got filled with algae pretty quick, and then I put the cover on it. So it really worked out well. It kept the tubing much cleaner. You can clean it out. I have a long skinny brush that I had got with another set, and that really worked well. So that's the setup with what you get with the rack. Sometimes they send 1 or 2 other things. Water tester, and we can do that. I've got some water testers. I use reverse osmosis water for everything that I grow. I just have a countertop model there, and that's worked out pretty well for a long time. So that's everything with the rack, and we're going to go through the whole motions of everything, set it all up, get them all growing, and then move them to the rack, and then we're going to pick your lettuce. And there's a couple of different types of setups. Those are all with a pump. All these Aerogardens, they all have a pump. So the next thing is the Aerogarden. If you order one of the Aerogardens, see, I started with this little one, this small one here, and that has 3 pods. Then I went to the next size, 6 pods, then the next size, 9 pods, and that one goes really high. It raises up 24 inches. You can grow baby peppers, baby tomatoes, baby eggplant, and I've done all that with that. And then that's when I moved to the rack. But in the first instance, I started with the passive methods, no pump. Anyway, also what you get with the Aerogarden is they'll send you these seed pods all done up. You got your seed inside there, it's all labeled, and you got your net pot that fits right in. So all you do with them is you follow the instructions, you put it in the food, and they're on timers, and you're good to go. And that has worked out well for me. This one, a neighbor saw this set up in a yard sale for $2, and she bought it for me when she saw it. So that was the best deal of all, $2. They come about $130. Although on eBay, you can find them on eBay for less, used models. I haven't bought them from eBay, but probably is fine. So with Aerogarden, you can also do it yourself. They do provide a kit, which at one point I did buy, where you get the net pots, you get the sponges, and some other stuff. You get a replacement filter for the pumps, and you can put in your own seeds, and then you would start it in there. And I've done that. The thing is, if the seed doesn't take, if it doesn't start, then you're going to start to, I don't know, get this sponge a little bit moldy, but that's fine. What I have been doing now, pretty much 95%, I've got a few of these left over, is I've been doing it myself, starting my own seeds. I just like to start my seeds myself, and then I'll put it into this sponge and put it in, and that works fine. And that's what I've got, like 95% of it is that. I think 2 or 3 of those are the pre-seeded ones. So that works out well. These are a little bit expensive if you buy them already done, and that's why I prefer to sort of switch to my own thing here. So that's the Aerogarden. They give you little sunroofs for your seeds when you're starting them. That works out well. And covers for the pods that you're not using. Then what I've also worked with and experimented with, and was really my first, was the passive systems. So the first system I got was this grow box. It's a bus pan and these net pots. And as you can see, that worked out very well. That was good. And I discovered it also online, called the Kratky Method. And he has a very nice website now. I discovered it many years ago where it was limited, but he did show you a bunch of different containers that you can use. So that came with net pots. And I just wanted to say something about the medium. So as I said, I prefer these sponges with the indentation. The Aerogarden comes with these sponges, which they work out well with that. This is okay to use with the Aerogarden. You want to be careful with the Aerogarden. You don't want to put anything in these that it's going to shred. And some come with coconut coir, C-O-I-R. One setup that I got came with a brick of coconut coir, and that was kind of hard to manage. If you're doing 1 or 2 bus pans and you're doing, let's say, 10 or 16 of these, because if it was tomatoes, you'd have to spread it out more. You're not going to use a brick of coconut coir. So you have to put the brick in water, soak it, it's going to expand. That's a lot of coconut coir. You can't cut it because it's really hard, just like coconut is really hard. So I found that I could buy smaller quantities. That's my whole point, was to show you that you can buy it in smaller quantities instead of buying a brick or getting a setup with a brick of coconut coir. So this worked in my 3-inch, and this one worked in my 2-inch. This one has muslin around it, which is good because it shreds. So I don't think it's a good idea to use the coconut coir in anything where you're going to have a pump, because it makes a big mess. If you do a passive system, like the Kratky methods, you're going to see when you put the coconut coir in the water, it just starts to come out. It starts to spread. So it's good that if it's in a container that you don't really care about and there's no pump around. So after doing the grow box and looking at the Kratky method, that's when I found out that you really don't have to have a pump. Pumps are good in general for different setups, but you can have a passive system, which is what I did. I did a lot of lettuce containers like this, you can see, and there are pros and cons to this. The con is that it's going to, because the sun can get in, it's going to grow a lot of algae just like the tubing. So it's not that pretty to look at. But the pro is that you just take out your produce, put it in a bowl, take this, empty it out, throw it out, and get yourself a fresh container and put it back in, and it's all nice and clean and fresh, and you're good to go. So I did that, a lot of lettuce containers. I also I had a lot of these containers that I had been saving. See, I told you I save all the plastic containers. I just save them. I never know what I'm going to use them for, and then I find a use. So I had been saving a lot of these containers. I didn't know what I was going to use them for, and then I found out what I was going to use them for. So you just have to make sure that the roots obviously have to touch the water, be able to reach the water. So that one worked with that. That size worked with that. The little size is not going to work because it's not going to be able to touch the water. So I put heavy postal tape, just one sheet of postal tape on the back here. So it's like a clamshell. And the pros and cons are, the pro is that it's not going to get filled. It's not going to get all filled with algae. Even if it did, you wouldn't have to look at it. It's not going to get filled with algae. But the con is that this is small, and you're going to have to put the water in. You're going to have to check it for water every day because those lettuces and herbs like basil and mint, they're going to suck up a lot of water. So you're going to have to check the water every day. So I did a lot of those, and they worked out well. I also did this setup. So this has a lot of water in it. You don't fill it to the top because it needs some oxygen, and that works out very well too. So if you wanted to just start and you bought some seeds, which are not expensive, you could start just like that. These are 10 for $6. This is 2-inch, 3-inch. They are the same thing, 10 for $6. And then you could buy your tabs of coconut coir also. So there, that was the grow box. Another passive method that I did was I had found this rack outside a hardware store. They were throwing it out, and I thought, I wonder how that would be. So this is three levels of four containers on each level, and what used to be in that was nails. This is, I think it was Simpson ties or something. So I cleaned it all up, and the 3-inch net pot fit right inside it. Worked out really well, and as you can see, that worked out well. So once you start doing this, you start looking at all these plastic containers in a different light. You start thinking, oh, I wonder how that would be, or at least I do. So here was just one little more piece of advice, is that sometimes you may get little no-see-ums, just those tiny little critters that like to hang around plants. So I used to use an organic solution that drew it to it, but you always need the little container, and it gets kind of like sticky and yucky and stains on the table or whatever. And I used it also with the rack. Although when I had the rack indoors, I really didn't get any no-see-ums. It's only when the plants have been exposed to outside. But people may have different experiences. So with the rack I use it. So you take this white off, and it's sticky, and it'll stick to anything you want. And that's worked out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. And these are very inexpensive. You get a whole pile of them for like $4. They've lasted forever. So you peel it off, and your little no-see-ums, they go to the butterfly motel, and they stay there forever. So it's kind of nice. And that's about it for showing you around the supplies and the different things. We'll move on to starting some seeds, starting some babies. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you.